Congresswoman, I'll start with you. The majors, the big oil companies, there's global supply and demand that sets the price of crude. Then it goes out of the door on everything they've produced, so they make that much. But then refiners and other companies, for a lot of different reasons, refining capacity, everything else, that's where the gasoline prices come from. So the majors aren't even involved with that. Does that factor into this idea, in your view?
No, it really doesn't. I mean, it's an entire system. And so, I mean, let's be clear. The president and I am not economists, but what we are doing is expressing frustration that major oil companies have had not just profits, but ridiculous excess profit, and it's at the expense of the American people because there's a war going on in Ukraine, and because Russia and Saudi Arabia have colluded to keep oil prices down. And so nobody should be allowed to make excess profits over that. And I think the president, this is far from a proposal, but it is an idea that I think the American people share, that there should not be this excessive profiteering that's going into stock buybacks, it's going into dividends for shareholders, instead of going into production so that the American people can get a break at the pump.
Right. There's a lot to unpack there. So it's not a serious proposal, obviously, because you'd need 60 votes in the Senate. There is an election coming up, so I guess carping about it is one thing. Silicon Valley companies have much higher profit margins, many, than this. Maybe you say, well, it's not an essential service that they make, but Moderna and Pfizer made some essential things during a pandemic and profited from that. The oil companies lost billions of dollars during the pandemic when a lot of production was shut in. And just in terms of a tax on something, Congresswoman, there's an old expression: if you want less of something, tax it or regulate it. So we want more oil. Why would this be a time to penalize the producers that are the ones that need to help us alleviate the supply problems?
Well, then what the producers need to do is to put some of that profit into production. I mean, I think that's what the president really said. There's not an idea that you're going to just tax profits. If companies are putting money, these energy companies are putting money into production, then I think it is appropriate to make sure that you provide the American people with the kind of relief that they deserve at the pump.
Tomas, you want to? I don't know where you want to start.
So I think, a cartel, an oil cartel like OPEC, they raise profits by cutting supply. And there's a problem with a cartel is that you want to cheat on it. You want to go out and sell lower and make a lot more than your buddies. What the Biden administration essentially has done is enforce this cartel by mandating cuts in supply with their policies, essentially. So that's why we're ending up here with very high profits. It's basically a government enforcement of a cartel-like behavior. Now, if you look at these policies they're proposing, it was tried by Carter in 1980. He had a 70% tax above a certain price on profits. And we observed exactly what you predict would be observed when that happened. One was that domestic production went down, like you indicated. Second was that imports went up. Imports went up less than domestic went down. So prices went up domestically as well. On top of it, such a policy substituting U.S. energy with foreign energy raises global warming, which I don't think the administration is interested in because U.S. Energy is a lot cleaner than the energy we get from abroad. So I think this is just a crazy, I don't know who's running the energy policy in the White House, but it's sort of malpractice level material.